Welcome back to the Empire State of Sports podcast. This episode is going to be releasing a little late because I wanted to take us through the NBA trade deadline. That being said, things are going to be a little different this episode. I'm live. Two, I think I have a few questions on Twitter to answer, and I'm not doing the same order. Don't quote me on that. But obviously, first things first, I want to take us through the Super Bowl preview. So, yeah, obviously the Super Bowl is coming up. Good matchup, rematch of 2020. Niners opened at -1.5. I mean, hey, this game's really hard to talk about because you got a juggernaut on one side and you got a juggernaut on the other side. Obviously, that's really what the Super Bowl is supposed to be. People mad about this matchup, stay mad. It's good for the sport. Yeah, to me, it's a perfect matchup. The Chiefs really, I think, have the defensive advantage aside from rushing. Like you look at this Chiefs defense, it's been incredible. It's been able to contain Lamar Jackson. It's been able to contain everyone it's faced almost all year. It was able to contain Josh Allen. But obviously, the rushing being a defense is the rushing being a downside is going to be a major point to watch in this game because obviously the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the league. He's so dynamic. He's able to run, he's able to catch, he's able to do everything. But it's Mahomes in a big game. To me, I don't even know if I can give the Niners the offensive advantage they have on paper just because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a guy time and time again people try and bet against in these big matchups. These games that we see you either thrive in or die in. And he's always, it seems, able to overcome whatever pressure he may be feeling. I think it's a combination of Andy Reid and him. I think it's just one of those things you talk about. It's like a Tom Brady and Belichick. Who is it really? Is it Andy Reid? Is it Mahomes? To me, I think it's a combination of both of them, where Mahomes is able to do anything with what he's given. Obviously, though, the Niners do have so many offensive weapons. They have Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. They have just about everyone you would want on an offensive side of the ball. It's just, will Brock Purdy be able to outduel that Chiefs defense? And I just keep thinking back to that first half versus the Lions, the game versus the Packers, and I just don't know how he's going to be able to overcome this. If he is, man, he's got to be put up there with one of the best quarterbacks. But to me, until he wins against a team like the Chiefs, I think this is a huge test for him. You can't put him in the best quarterbacks in the league. Because let's be honest, the Lions defense was a weakness. The Packers defense wasn't good, and they were almost able to beat the Niners. To me, that's the thing I'm watching this game. Are the Chiefs going to be able to put the pressure on Brock Purdy? And I really think they are going to be able to. I do. So obviously, I'm talking a lot of bad stuff on this Niners team. I'm pretty sure you can guess where I'm going. I don't see a world where the Chiefs lose this game. I just don't. Time and time again in the playoffs, I've thought Patrick Mahomes was overmatched, but I don't think you can overmatch Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You just can't do it. So I'm gonna have the Chiefs winning this game 31-28. We're gonna do two touchdown scores per team, and that's gonna be Kelsey Pacheco on the Chiefs and CMC Kittle on the 49ers. Yeah, I do think it's gonna be a close game though, because the Niners just have too many weapons for them not to stay in this game. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great game. I think it's the two best teams that were in the league. I think they showed that all throughout the playoffs. I think this is the best possible matchup for the Super Bowl. Stay mad. You got the best teams. You did. It's gonna be a great game to watch. Okay. Now I just want to talk about my New York Giants, my mess of a franchise that I love so much. So obviously not like exactly to do with the Giants, but kind of to do with the Chiefs. So kind of staying on the topic of the Super Bowl, Kadarius Toney went on this major rant yet again this week, talking about how he's a wide receiver one if you can get him the ball. Listen, you're not a wide receiver one, dude. You're not. Time and time again, I've seen Patrick Mahomes try and pass you the ball, and you be the reason an interception happens. That ball will bounce off your hands straight into a defender every single time. You could be wide open. You could be pressured. It doesn't matter. So to call yourself a wide receiver one and to be aiming this argument at the Giants, a team you're not even on anymore, you shouldn't be focused on this. You have the biggest game of your life coming up, arguably, and you're still focused on a team that traded you last year. Like, get your head in the game. I don't know how you're still lingering on the fact that you're just not a good player. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs benched him in the Super Bowl. He's an offensive liability, not an offensive weapon. I just don't know how he goes out there and runs his mouth like that. To run your mouth and not have the stats to back it up, to not have your teammates back you up, to not have former teammates back you up, not have anyone back you up but yourself, it's just being cocky. I think that's all I really have to say on Kadarius Toney. Just how about you focus on what's in front of you and you prove it. You prove what you think. Then you can talk whatever shit you want. Prove it in the biggest game, on the biggest stage, where everyone's watching you, and maybe you'll gain some respect. Maybe. But now you're not going to gain any respect because you went out there and you ran your mouth without anything to prove it. All right. So it seems as though the Cowboys have their eyes on Saquon Barkley. Um, Listen, I've said it time and time again. It's time to let Saquon Barkley go. Running backs have a period where they can be good, where they can be elite, outside of the top two in the league, top three maybe. Saw Austin Eckler drop off this year. We see a lot of elite running backs drop off every single year, time and time again. And the fact that Saquon can't even stay on the field, it's time to move on. So go out and get him, Cowboys. Go out and do it. You have Tony Pollard, so I don't see why. And you're paying Tony Pollard big money. I don't know why you would waste cap space when you have bigger issues, like your quarterback, that you're not even going to commit to extending. You have bigger issues, like the fact you can't play when the lights are on you. Go out and get him. I don't care. Pay him for being injured 5 games a year. My pleasure, Cowboys. Go ahead. So it seems as though the Giants have finally resolved their coaching issues this offseason. They hired the Titans' former defensive coordinator. Listen, he's good, but I see a lot of trades out there saying they're going to trade Dexter Lawrence. If you trade away your best defensive player, it's not going to matter who your defensive coordinator is. If the attitude is like they say in the clubhouse or in the locker room, sorry, it doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is. You got to fix that first. So great for them signing a good defensive coordinator. What's it going to help? You got big problems. You do. You got no trade market for Daniel Jones. And I could have predicted that. He's got a lucrative contract. He can't prove to stay on the field year after year. So what? He's won a playoff game. It seems as though no player wants to back him up. You saw Kayvon Thibodeau, what he said about Barkley and Jones last week. I don't care what the coaching situation is. I don't care that they promoted Mike Kafka to assistant head coach. Which, terrible decision, by the way. Terrible decision. You had one of the bottom offenses in the league, and you're going to promote your offensive coordinator. Good going, Giants. Good going. That being said, you can't target a quarterback in the draft because you have a quarterback that's making $40 million on your roster currently. You got to roll with him. You got to be committed to Daniel Jones. Doesn't matter if you don't think he's the quarterback of the future. You committed to him already. You showed him you believe he is the quarterback of the future. You showed the Giants fan base you believe this guy is an elite level quarterback that can take us back to a Super Bowl. You got to focus on the other issues that are on the team. You got to focus on the offensive line. You got to focus on the wide receivers. Got to focus on the rushing defense. Got to focus on all of it. That being said, I think going after a top wide receiver like a Mike Evans, like a Pittman, guys that are veteran presences in the club. Why do I keep saying clubhouse? Locker room. That are these veteran presences. I think that's the best move because obviously Daniel Jones, the coaching, they ain't cutting it as leaders out there. Everyone seems divided. So maybe it's time that they go out to an outside source, bring someone else in to be the leader they've been lacking since Eli retired. The whole Giants franchise is a mess. You gave us hope a few years ago when you made the playoffs. You won a game. But the next year to not even try and win crucial games, like the game against the Jets, the game against the Bills, games that were very winnable. But then you go out and you win games that no one wanted you to win, like the game against the Eagles. I don't know what path this Giants team is taking, but it's not it. You took 2 steps forward, and then you took 5 steps back the year after. It just seems like that's always the story of the New York Giants. Alright, still about 40 minutes from the deadline here. If I got any news. No, I got nothing. Just the same stuff from the past few hours. All right, so I guess we'll go on to MLB news. Not much here, but might as well go through it. So Netflix is reportedly doing a Hard Knocks style series on the 2024 Red Sox. I don't know why you're choosing the Red Sox when they're a team that's obviously not trying to compete this year, a team that's probably going to place last, a team that might not even go over 500. What's the most interesting storyline going to be if Whitlock or Tanner Houck are going to get the number 5 spot in the rotation? But regardless, that's the team they chose. That's the team we're going to get to see. And probably the only team we'll get to see on a style series like that because they chose the 2024 Red Sox. We got a few extensions. Altuve is the first second baseman to ever get a guaranteed $300 million as he signs a 5-year, $125 million extension to stay with the Astros for the rest of his career. Listen, as much as I hate the Astros, as much as I hate Altuve, Altuve is one of the best players I ever got to watch. He's a guy that is a little on the smaller side. He was a guy I looked up to until he got popped for cheating, but that's another story. It's a great thing for baseball when you see a guy stay on one team for their whole career. Like, we're seeing Kershaw is going back to the Dodgers. Obviously, we don't know the nature of that deal yet. We're seeing, I feel like there's another guy. Witt might not be there his whole career, so that's why I'm not mentioning him. I will talk about Bobby Witt, but yeah, to see a guy stay with one team his whole career, I got to watch Derek Jeter stay a Yankee his whole career. And that was great. He was my hero. He was every kid's hero growing up. Everyone wanted number 2 when you were on a baseball team. But to see players stay on one team their whole career is great. Um, Talking about a guy about something like this is when you talk about Pete Alonso, I see all of these young fans looking up to Pete Alonso. And if they don't keep him for his whole career, it's going to be a major mistake. Because listen, you talk about famous Mets in the past: Jose Reyes, Tom Seaver, um, Mike Piazza. Even you talk about all these guys. These guys weren't Mets for life. David Wright's the only guy I can remember that ever stayed his whole career. Obviously, it's a shame what happened to him in his back, but that's the only one I can think of. And I think a great decision for the Mets would be to keep him for his whole career. Make him that Met hero, the guy that hits 600 home runs in a Mets uniform, always is there, gives back to the community, a clubhouse leader. Make him the true face of the Mets organization for the foreseeable future. So, obviously, a big move for baseball recently was the fact the Oakland A's are moving to Vegas. Well, that has hit a little bit of a road bump. They are getting sued by a teachers association for that money to go towards educational purposes instead of going to the new franchise in Vegas. Listen, obviously, I don't think anything's going to happen out of this, but for the fans to have that much backlash with the A's moving to Vegas, with this now appearing, I think it's something that the league is going to take into account, and they are, I think, going to reevaluate this. But I think ultimately they do end up moving to Vegas. Vegas is just too big of a scene for baseball. Their minor league baseball team, the Aviators, does so well out there. I just don't see a world where this move doesn't happen. I'm gonna talk about the big fish in the MLB right now. Scott Boras. Scott Boras is a guy where we've seen him get these lucrative deals for players. We see him have all the big names: Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. Those are a few guys that are going to be free agents next year. What are these guys going to think? The fact that Blake Snell doesn't have a team, Montgomery doesn't have a team. Who are a few other guys that are on here? Matt Chapman doesn't have a team. Bellinger doesn't have a team. What are these guys gonna think now that spring training's approaching in like a week? And they're all without teams. Say about spring training what you wish. It should be shorter. What's the benefit of playing these exhibition games? I've seen year after year guys sign late contracts, like Lance Lynn a few years ago, Machado, Harper. That one off season that moved very slowly, and it really has a negative impact on these players once the season starts. We'll see them have a career worst year because they didn't have that full time to prepare. But listen, it's not going to change anything. Boras is going to get the best deal he can. Probably not what he's looking for now. But it does have a negative impact on Scott Boras and maybe future clients a little bit. But yeah, I think the players now have to step in and be like, I need a deal. Maybe we take the 1 year deal that's on the table. Maybe we take the 2 year deal with an option that's on the table. And try again next year. Because obviously this market is not going for Scott Boras this year. What's I got here? The Royals did make a big extension with Bobby Witt. Like I said, a player playing their whole career with a team, I think, is the best thing for a sport. This isn't going to take him until the end of his career. It is 11 years, 288. It'll probably take him to like his age 35, 36 season, where he probably has a few years left in him. But when we see players sign extensions, I think it's very beneficial because the arbitration process is a terrible process of Major League Baseball that really needs to be done away with. And to avoid that completely and even lock them up for those 10 years, 11 years is so beneficial for a sport where we rarely see a player stay their whole career anymore. So I got nothing. Um, the Orioles did make a trade for Corbin Burns. I think it's a great trade for them. They didn't give up a single top 10 prospect. They gave up a guy that was, I think, like number 70 in all of baseball. Obviously, Corbin Burns, a guy I wanted the Yankees to look at the deadline. Apparently, they were in on him. But now, when we face the Orioles, the chances we have to face a guy that is at that top echelon of pitchers now is extremely likely. And it just emphasizes the fact the Yankees need to go out. They need to get someone. It makes this division race so much tighter. I get the PECOTA projections are showing the Orioles only winning 87 or so games this year. I don't care about projections. Last year, I'm pretty sure they had the Orioles winning like 70 games. They went out and won like almost 100. Or maybe they won over 100 last year. I can't even remember. But listen, the Orioles new ownership group just put themselves on the map by making an aggressive deal like this. And the Brewers just put themselves in a situation where they might have to go out and trade other people. They might be in a little bit of a retooling. I don't want to say rebuilding era. Um, Definitely a retool. They did make Willy Adames available, one of the better shortstops in the league, better hitting shortstops. His defense is okay. Um, Obviously a guy I don't think the Yankees are going to be really interested in because they have their future starts shortstop in Anthony Volpe. But you got two really different sides to the table here. You have a team going out to compete and a team probably showing they might not compete this year to their fans, which is terrible for the sport when a team goes out and they retreat before the season even starts. We had a few minor signings. We had Kenyon Middleton going to the Cardinals for 1 year, $6 million. Carlos Santana going to the Brewers for 1 year, $5 million. The Braves signed Ken Giles to a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, and the Padres signed a weirder deal, 4 years, 16 and a half for Wandy Peralta, but there's an opt out after every single year. High risk, high reward. I don't know. But some minor signings. Obviously, this all season has been very boring for Major League Baseball. Everyone just seems to be waiting for spring training to start, hoping maybe some of the players that are holding out will now sign a deal. I don't know. Talk about my Yankees for a second. They traded for a better left-handed reliever in Caleb Ferguson. They only gave up Matt Gage and Christian Zzuta. Caleb Ferguson's a guy where his curveball is devastating. He has a top level spin rate on that pitch, but he has an issue where he tends to walk a lot of batters. Hopefully, Matt Blake is able to work with him and he can become that Wandy Peralta replacement now this team is looking for. They are also going to be playing 2 games in Mexico versus Diablos Rojos. It's you know, Major League Baseball yet again trying to extend their fan base, which I think is always great for the sport. I just hope the travels and stuff doesn't tire out the team too much before they do start their actual regular season. But whenever the league is trying to expand their fan base, I think it's always a positive thing. They also had a minor signing where they brought back Greg Allen on a minors deal. Obviously, an issue with this team last year was they lacked a lot of depth. They were playing guys like Jake Bauers every day. They were playing guys that didn't even play the outfield in the outfield every day. So to see them go out and address the depth that they lacked last year is a great thing. Spencer Jones received a invite to spring training. I got the honor of meeting Spencer on Sunday or Saturday, sorry, at the Pinstripe Pride event. To anyone I met out there, I got to meet Spencer Jones, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, Reggie Jackson, um, Paul O'Neill. I got to meet again. I met him a few times. Great guy. Uh, Actually showed up to my job for a beer event for the relaunch of his Warrior beer. I can't say enough good things about Paul O'Neill. I'd be here all day. But to anyone I got to hang out with, Keith McPherson, a little bit of a friend of mine. He's obviously great to hang out with. Great to see what he does because it seems like he's one of the young guys that has made himself successful just as a fan turned radio host. He's always a great guy to hang out with. Seeing him, I got to see Jake Kozak from the Bronx too. He's a guy I talked to a little bit. Um, and Sam and Ryan from Fireside Yankees, guys that I all look up to and just hope one day I could emulate their success. I did a few interviews with some of them, Cashing Out NYC, Fireside Yankees, you know. Very great to hang out with them. The Yankees are interested in bringing back Gio Urshela. Urshela's a guy where I think I've talked about it before. He is going to hit 300. He doesn't have much power, but I think yet again it's another depth move where this team has lacked it. Third base has been a weak point. I don't think I could really rely on DJ LeMahieu to stay healthy. So to bring in these guys that could possibly fill in later on in the year that we haven't seen in years past is definitely great. Don't have much to say on the Mets today because they're little brother. They signed Jake Diekman for 1 year, $4 million, and they signed Fujinami. Fujinami's the guy where, listen, he's had high promise wherever he's been in the league, but he hasn't been able to live up to it, having a career 7 ERA. He had a good half of the season with Baltimore last year with like a 4 ERA. Hopefully the Mets can tap into that potential, because if they can tap into that potential, having Diekman, having Fujinami, having Ottavino, having Edwin Diaz back this year, a part of your team that was a weakness in years past can become a strength, and it'll be interesting to see if they could grab that last wild card spot now. All right. Move on to NHL in a second. Just gonna check my phone real quick, see if I got anything. No. Anyway, let's talk about NHL before we get into the big boy news for today. The Golden Knights snapped the Oilers' 16-game win streak. They were one shy of the record. Obviously, the Oilers are favored to win the cup right now, but to have that win streak snapped one before you reach the record, gotta be devastating, man. But I don't think you could really just throw away what the Oilers did this past stretch because of this. Obviously, the Oilers have McDavid, they have Draisaitl, and now it seems like they finally have their goalie in Skinner. I think they're gonna be lethal, man. Go out and get a defender. Go out and maybe get a backup goalie. This team can really make a run at a cup. Obviously the All-Star game recently passed this weekend. Um, Team Matthews was the winner. Everyone got to split $1 million, so I don't really know what the share is for each person. Probably like 50 grand. If I had to guess. But good for all the winners. Igor was on the team. Trocheck was on the team. Good for them. So, obviously, a huge scandal that's been going on in the NHL is what happened in the 2018 World Juniors. We had players like Carter Hart taking a leave. All those teams are going to get a cap relief because it doesn't seem like they're going to be coming back anytime soon. Obviously, as it should be. The NHL should do its due diligence with this. But the NHL did the right thing giving these teams a little bit of cap relief, because obviously it's not their fault that their players made some mistakes. We had Sean Monahan go to the Jets for a first rounder and a third rounder if Winnipeg wins the cup. So Sean Monahan's a guy I wanted the Rangers to go out and get. He's obviously one of the bright spots on that Canadiens team. He's young, he can score, he gets back on the other side of the puck and plays pretty good defense. Shame the Rangers didn't get him, but Winnipeg did give up a lot. I personally would not give up our first rounder for Sean Monahan, but sometimes that is what it is. Sometimes you have to give to get. Elias Lindholm was traded to the Canucks for prospect Hunter Brustowicz and Joni Germo. Don't know if I pronounced those names right at all, be completely honest. They also got a 2024 first rounder and a fourth rounder. Elias Lindholm, another guy I want the Rangers to go out and get. Um, he's had a pretty good season this year. Listen, to me, the Rangers did so much last year without giving up a first rounder that I just have to think there's a way the Rangers can go about this deadline without giving up a first rounder. And seeing these teams go out and trade their first rounders for everyone that to me aren't even worth giving up a first rounder for. I don't know how the Rangers are going to do it this year like they did last year. Lindholm's a guy where he has 11 goals, 23 assists. He plays center. Obviously, a team need right now with Filipino out. Great move for the Canucks, though, as they look to bolster a team that is on the upper echelon of NHL teams right now. Talking about my New York Rangers a little more. They did terminate Nick Bonino. This is obviously an attempt to get a little bit more cap space as they approach the deadline. I would expect a little bit more of these moves to happen because their cap space is so limited and there's only so much relief a team giving can give you without giving up too much. So they are currently not willing to trade their first rounder because the draft is held at the Sphere, which is owned by the Dolans. And listen, you gotta separate business and hockey. I get the sport is a business. I get you have other business interests, but this team is getting to the point where they are primed to win the Stanley Cup. They're only getting older. It's got to get to the point where you're willing to give up that first rounder and not give up a guy like Kakko. Kakko, please. He's one of the few guys on this team right now that does protect the puck. You shouldn't give away a guy who does one of your weaknesses well, who is extremely young. That being said, the Rangers are on a 3-game win streak. They beat the Avalanche 2-1, and then last night I want to say they beat the Lightning 3-1. You talk about this team. They've had a lot of highs. They've had a lot of lows this season. They obviously need to go out and make a move. Time is only ticking on this. Please don't make the team worse to make the team better is all I ask. The Islanders are looking rough, even with a new coach. I said it before and I'll say it again. The issue with this team was not coaching. It was a lack of talent. I think it's time you assess this team, and if it were up to me, I would decide this team needs to sell a little bit, get younger, trade away an aging guy like Brock Nelson, who had a good season last season, but is nowhere near to repeating that season this year. To me, they're just old. They're slow. They need to get a little faster. I think they really made a mistake firing their coach because that obviously was not the issue. I got this. The Brewers wanted Spencer Jones in return for Corbin Burns. I talk very highly on Spencer Jones, man. They made the right decision. If that truly was the asking price for Corbin Burns, the Yankees tax is real, man. It really is. The Orioles went out there, didn't even trade a top 10, and they wanted our number one? No. Unbelievable, man. All right. Yeah, go out and trade a guy like Brock Nelson, see what you could get in return. You should be able to get some high round draft picks, maybe a first. You should be able to get younger if you move Brock Nelson, get quicker. It's it's just a move I think that has to be made with this team. So, big news with the Devils is their young star Jack Hughes is coming back soon. Obviously, this team has been struggling ever since Jack Hughes was out, struggling maybe even all season, even with him. So to have a guy like Jack Hughes coming back should be a huge boost as the Metropolitan is wide open. All right. I think we're going to move on to NBA now. Hopefully, by the time I'm done with what I have, it'll be deadline time. So, apparently, Embiid's injury was very real. He did just have surgery on his meniscus. Huge blow for the 76ers team. They did go out and make a trade, which I'll talk about later. Um, oh man, this trade for the 76ers is bad. They got Buddy Hield back, but they gave up Marcus Morris for Cork a second. They gave up 3 seconds in 2024 and a second in 2029 and cash. They just made their rivals in Indiana, or sorry, in Portland, get better. Listen, we get you're desperate. We get Embiid's going to be out a little while. Let's go out there and make a panic move like that. I'm very happy my Knicks did not. Made a pretty good move. Gonna talk about that one. Um, but man, for the Sixers fans, I'm sorry. Y'all just seem year after year to just one, not perform in the playoffs, and two, make bad decisions at the deadline. Sorry, man. Zach LaVine of the Bulls was a trade target for many teams, including the Pistons for some reason. He's getting season-ending surgery, probably to avoid going to the Pistons. You know, is what it is. I'm just joking with that, but yeah, devastating to any team that was in on him. A guy that I would have even enjoyed seeing on the Knicks. Uh, just happens sometimes, you know. LeBron has been making headlines lately with his cryptic social media posts and his comment with I think it was the Statue of Liberty. Apparently, he's trying to say that this was all the fuel them to beat the Knicks. Um, Listen, when you're LeBron, we get it. You're trying to chase the best team. You're trying to win one more chip before you retire. Just don't be a douche on social media, bro. Do that shit behind closed doors where people aren't gonna hear you. You're just tainting your legacy even more, especially for the people that don't like you, like me. To be completely honest, I hate LeBron. just do that stuff behind closed doors. Fuel your team behind closed doors. There's better ways to do it. Grizzlies got Steven Adams for Oladipo. Listen, the Grizzlies are dealing with a lot of injuries right now. To go out there and get someone is obviously a great boost for them. They did get beat up pretty bad against my Knicks, though. But listen, yeah, with a lot of injuries and a lack of depth in Memphis, it's definitely a great move to go out there and get someone, because this team, flashback a year ago in January of 23, was a team that was in a title contender shot. So the Warriors have stated they aren't going to trade Clay or Draymond Green. Listen, this Warriors team is a team that won a championship just a few years ago. They have Steph, they have Clay, they have Draymond. They have a lot of pieces to build around. I think they're doing the right thing, just staying as it is, because I think their issue is more they can't stay healthy, then they need to go out and get someone. Because they could easily sneak into the playoffs, be healthy, and make a run at another championship. Brogdon has said he wants out of the Celtics because he doesn't feel valued. Listen, this is yet again another case of NBA players going and feeling better than they are because they think they're worth more than the rest of the team. That's one thing I hate about the NBA. And I've always hated about the NBA. These players are so public with how they feel about how they're being treated in an organization. When, listen, you're supposed to be playing for a team. You're not supposed to be playing for yourself. If the team's winning to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. By the way, we want Cody. Yeah. But I called it. What can I say? Doc Rivers ain't helping the Bucks. 3-5. Or, yeah, they're 3-5 in their last 8, I believe. I told you. This team is not lacking talent. They are not lacking coaching. They are lacking camaraderie, teamwork, the foundations that make a good team great. They don't play as a team. Giannis plays for himself. Giannis talks the most shit in the league. He thinks he's the shit, man. But he's not. You can't play in the playoffs. You can't play for a team. And you go out and talk shit. You make your team fire your coach. And guess what? You get a new coach. A coach that everyone's saying, oh, the Bucks are going to be one of the greatest teams in the league. Guess what? They're fucking not. Until a team learns how to play as a team, doesn't matter what coach it is, they're not going to be a good team because they're lacking the team. All right, let's go over some deadline moves. I got a deadline tracker over here to make this a little bit easier. So, a few things I got here is the Lakers are unlikely to make a trade. Listen, Lakers, you're going to do what LeBron says regardless. So, who the hell cares? Oh my God, the 76ers got Pat Bev. Or no, Pat. They traded Pat Bev to the Bucks. Don't Lillard and Bev hate each other? Oh, that's gonna be interesting. Campaign and a second rounder. Why are they making their rivals better? Sixers fans, man, I got a clown on y'all. Y'all are Oh, I got a deadline tracker right here. Lovely. I just went over Pat Bev. I don't really care about that. PJ Washington headed to the Mavericks from Hornets for Grant Williams and Seth Curry. Listen, the Hornets are a team where they're obviously not competing right now. Go out there, get the best you can. You got younger for the Mavericks. You got PJ Washington. Guy's a great player, stud, great trade. Dennis Schroeder traded to the Nets from Raptors for Spencer Dinwiddie. This is the big one. This is the big one I want to talk about. Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks traded to the Knicks. They traded Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, and 2 second-round picks for those two. You didn't give up a first rounder, Knicks. I love you. I'm going to the game tonight, though. Who y'all playing? I just want to know. Do I got to suit up, be the power forward real quick? 5 rebounds, averaging when I play basketball. Just saying. Listen, this trade for the Knicks is great. You were lacking a guy off the bench that could score. You could either move Dante DiVincenzo back to the bench for Bogdanovic, or you could put Bogdanovic on the bench. Listen, they're really, when they're healthy, they're gonna have OJ Anunoby, Bogdanovic, DiVincenzo, Brunson, Randall, Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein. Like, this team is loaded, man. I think they're going out and getting players that fit for them, which I think is the best thing. So Daniel Gafford was traded to the Mavericks in exchange for Rashawn Holmes and draft pick. Minor move, you know. Yet again, Mavericks to me are a team that is very good. Probably going to impound my Knicks tonight because they're probably going to be running a 6-man rotation. Is what it is. They got Luka, who to me is a top 3 player in the league. Going out getting these guys to help him, only going to make the team better. Gordon Hayward is traded to Charlotte to OKC for Trey Mann and Davis Bertans and draft picks. Listen, obviously a guy that's really solid. I would have liked him on the Knicks, but it is what it is, I guess. Gordon Hayward is definitely good. I'm just going over the big ones here. Obviously, we got Nobi, that was weeks ago. Oh shit, the Raptors are waiving Dinwiddie now. Well, I guess the Nets just got him for free. Just for draft picks. Alright. Well, that's what I got on trade deadline stuff. Obviously, there's probably going to be some last minute things that come through here. Obviously, the Hawks did not land up trading DeJounte Murray. Very upset about that. Would have loved for him on my Knicks. But if there's one team that won, man, I'd say it's my Knicks. They got OG Anunoby, Bogdanovic. Hey, win's a win. Teams come into MSG averaging the most points in the league, and guess what? They get out and they look like they just got beat up for an hour by metal bats. They won 9 in a row, only ended by the Lakers because they didn't have OG Anunoby. They did not have their second string center in Jericho Sims, and they did not have Julius Randle. And to everyone that's like, oh, Jalen Brunson's hurt. Jalen Brunson's playing tonight. I don't care. He's a dog. Guy could be missing a leg. He's playing. He's playing. All the haters want in now too, like LeBron. Get out of here. I don't want you. I don't want you. You could have chose us a few years ago when you went to the Heat. You could have chose us when you went to the Lakers. You didn't. I don't want you. And your defense sucks, LeBron. I don't want you. LeBron. Sorry, I'm a big LeBron hater. Oh, Mitchell Robinson's going to return soon. That's a guy where, obviously, he's one of the best defensive centers in the league. This team is just going to be so good once it's healthy. I can't wait to watch it, man. They're so exciting to watch as it is. All right, I'm going to talk about the Nets for a second. They kind of... The Nets. Cam Thomas scored 40. I'm trying to tell y'all, Cam Thomas is him. He's the guy the Nets should be building around. No one else. Not Mikal Bridges. Obviously not Dinwiddie. They traded him. No one else. Cam Thomas is that guy. He went out there. He scored 40 and went over the Sixers. One of the best teams in the league. They made a minor trade, trading Dinwiddie, but them holding was a huge mistake, man. You could have made the future so much brighter if you went out and traded Mikal Bridges. I don't think there's anything more that pisses me off than a team not knowing when to prepare for the future. Because you think you're bad now, you're going to be worse in the future if you don't start prepping. I don't know. To me, actually, kind of an underwhelming trade deadline. Didn't really have a star moved or anything. But the Knicks got better. The Nets, they're Nets in. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for watching Empire State of Sports.